Military families have incredible stories of perseverance while navigating frequent moves, deployments, food insecurity, transitioning out of the military, and more. This is the place for them to share those stories, highlighting unique experiences of military families. Welcome to the Professional Dependent Podcast. What's going on, everybody? Hey, it's Mike, your host for the Professional Dependent Podcast. I know it's been a little bit since I've just done an episode by myself. I've had a whole lot of fun having all the different guests on and talking about things like food insecurity, spouse employment, how to make the best use of your time while you're volunteering, all of these different things, emergency, how to prepare yourself in the event of a disaster. All of the last episodes that we've done where I've gotten to talk to some amazing spouses and a lot of veterans that are also spouses. These things are why I do this podcast, right? I like getting together and sharing information and getting information out to y'all. It's encouraged me to, put out my own merchandise to help support the podcast so I can improve what I'm doing, get better equipment, reach out to more people. That way I can provide a better service for y'all. Because at the end of the day, that's what I feel like I'm doing. I feel like I'm providing a service, and it's mainly because it's what I like to do. I love to share stories. I love to hear new ideas, hear the different ways people are doing things, and get that information out to y'all. It's something I really do enjoy, and it's something I plan to continue doing for as long as y'all will let me do this. Some things just to update y'all on what I've been doing lately. You can see now behind me, if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, we've got some pictures up on the wall now. Y'all know how it is. Whenever you're getting a new place, we've been here, not quite 6 months yet, and we're still getting things figured out, still getting things unpacked, still getting things kind of the way we want, and figuring out what our new life in Ohio looks like. I know that sounds crazy to say. We're still trying to figure it out a little over almost 6 months later, but that's the nature of the beast, right? Like, it takes a little while to get unpacked, get settled, figure out your new normal, and then kind of get adjusted, right? And we've had a lot of things happen since we've been here. The kids started a new school, which is everybody starts new schools, and everybody starts school in August, not necessarily a new school. But starting school, me trying to find, meaningful, gainful employment, which was two whole episodes we talked about that, and just figuring out how we fit in here and how everything's going to work here. And we've been able to do all that. What I want to talk about today is not necessarily all of that. I could sit here and chat about that forever. But that's not what I want to do. What I want to talk about is what I like to, how am I going to phrase this? What I would like to talk about is how I think spouses should not necessarily encourage themselves, but be brave enough to take that step to do something that you're uncomfortable with, that will benefit you. And what do I mean by that? I mean by doing things to help improve your personal state of being, whether that be finding a project, journaling. I know, like, the new, what is the new phrase now that people are saying? It's doing the shadow work. I don't know why they're calling it shadow work. I don't. Um, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know why these new phrases come up, but it's every time whenever I heard that and I saw what they were talking about, they were just talking about journaling and being brave enough to, I guess it's called shadow work because it's the things that you try to, like, push off to the side and not really talk about. But those are the things that you usually end up needing to focus on and fight anyway. It's the self-doubt. It's the feeling that you're not good enough. It's being brave to take that first step to try something new, right? I have talked about having merchandise seriously since 2017, 2018. And we're in, 2021 now. Is it 2021? No. It's 20. What year are we in? 23? 23. Oh, God. Wow. Brain just completely shut off there for a minute. So we're in 2023. And, I've been talking about doing merchandise since 2018. So it's 5 years that I've talked about it. And I finally did it I did it this month. I finally said, you know what? I can do this. I need to do this. I need to show myself that I can do the things I'm going to do. And it is a complete leap of faith in yourself and in your ability to say, this is a thing that I've got in my head. I need to have it in my hand. Like I was just talking with my friend Elliot about this. It's like, when you think about it, and you talk about something for so long, that it's almost weird whenever that thing finally comes to fruition, right? Like you've talked about it and you've talked about it, and the idea that now this thing that's been in your head for years is finally a tangible product that you can hold in your hand, it almost doesn't feel real. Like it feels like, I don't even know how to describe it, except for like you sit there, like even just the stickers, like, you know, every, sorry for the noise, but everybody knows what that sticker is, right? We pull them off of furniture and boxes for months. Sometimes I have found stickers on stuff from 2 moves ago. So, do that math, depending on, I think that was, 2 moves was 5 years, I guess. 4 or 5. Yeah, 5 years now. So all of these things, like, it takes you getting out of your own head, being able to take that jump and say, yes, I'm going to do this thing. And whether you get there through journaling, which has helped me a lot, like the journaling, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I've had this notebook for a while, stickers from my friend Danielle, who was on the show. And, I've had, I, I have so many thoughts that get caught up in my head. That's why sometimes it takes me a second to get out what I'm trying to say. So many thoughts that get jumbled up in my head, and that the ability to write them down and get them out of my head onto paper and into the universe helps me figure out direction. It helps me see where something might fall short. It helps me see where I need to push harder. And it has been one of the greatest tools that I have started using in the last year. And I don't do it as often as I should, because I know how much good it does for me. I've gotten better recently. I had kind of fallen away from it for a little while, and I can honestly feel myself getting more focused and having better direction whenever I did get back to it and start journaling more frequently. So it's a huge help for me personally. Maybe you'll find some value in it and you don't need to do anything crazy. Like you don't have to do some giant journal prompt to figure out what you want to write about. Some of the best journal prompts I have used were, I just started writing. I have a couple of journal entries in there where I say, I have no idea what is about to happen in this journal today. Something along those lines. And then I end up filling out, a page, sometimes 2 pages of just thoughts and ideas that are swimming around in my head. And as I start to write, those ideas kind of solidify and they come out and they become something that makes sense. And then I can read over it. And as I'm reading over it, I'm like, there it is right there. That's what's been bugging me. That is what's been on my brain about something I felt like I needed to do. And now it's out in the universe. Now I can focus on that and figure out a way to make that thing better. And I was just talking about this with another friend of mine about things that, everybody in the military spouse world knows that employment is tough. Employment is tough right now for everybody. And as I was explaining to the guy, yes, employment is tough for everybody right now. Unfortunately, for military spouse community, it's like I tell you pretty much exactly what I told him. Not to be, oh, woe is me, and my life is so tough. It's just the statistics show that employment is more difficult for military spouses than for the average American. That's all I'm saying. And so I was telling him that I'm trying to build something that is mine. That way I don't have to worry about traditional employment. There are things that I would love to do. I like being an employee. I like going to work and being like, okay, I need to get this stuff done. And then I can work on this project too. And all of it's work related. Like it'll be, I need to get these tasks done. I have this one project that I want to press on that will help improve either function, quality of life, or some sort of process. I love process improvement. I love going into an area and being like, okay, these things are going great from what I can see. These areas look a little shifty. Like I can go in here and figure out what's going wrong or what is not operating as well as it could be. And we can improve that. That way, if and when I do leave, I've left it better than I found it. The next person coming in is going to have a little bit easier time. Or maybe the person coming in behind me goes, what the crap was this dude thinking? All this is stupid. And we're going to do it a different way, which is fine too. Not everybody's going to see something the same way. So why wouldn't you want to at least go in and try, right? But I like being an employee. It's fun for me. I like going in and challenging ideas. And I think because of that is also why I'd like to build my own thing, because I like to challenge ideas. And if I have an idea and I want to talk to somebody about it, I can just have that conversation. Is podcasting a viable career? I don't know. I'm not, I know some of the really big podcasts that are out there getting sponsorships and, being able to make money doing it. I really don't care right now. I would rather y'all go out and buy some merch and support my podcast that way, the way I can improve my craft, rather than sit here and hope that somebody comes along and sponsors me. Because as it is right now, I can say what I want and I can talk to who I want, and we can dive into topics that people don't really want to dive into. For example, whenever I talked to my buddy Chris and we were talking about plant-based medicine to help heal with trauma, not a lot of people are out there talking about stuff like that. That was a phenomenal episode, and it's something that I have been interested in because I've seen the benefit of it from the medical side. I'm not one that partakes in plant-based medicine of any form. It's just not my jam. Do I care what other people do? No. If you're an adult and you have an educated, you do your research and you see the benefits of it and you firmly believe that you can get the benefit from that thing, do it. And I hope it works for you, especially if it's going to improve your quality of life. But Chris is doing other things. Like he's got his own, the cleaner company where he's doing soaps, sundries, all kinds of stuff, and doing a lot of things with the veteran space. And I love that he's doing his own thing. But that took a leap of faith, right? He had to believe in himself enough to take that first step because he saw an area that he wanted to improve, and he got in there and tried to improve it, and he's doing good things. Everybody that I've spoken to, if you go back and you listen to any of the past episodes, the number one thing that keeps coming back up is seeing an issue, wanting to fix the issue or at least improve it to where it's not as big of an impact on people as it is being. And that old saying, leave it better than you found it, that has come up time and time again. I think as military spouses, that's one thing that we really, we tend to unintentionally focus on. And when I say unintentionally, it's because we know we're only going to be somewhere for a finite amount of time, right? We know we're going to be somewhere, and that chances are we're only going to be there for, I'll just say 3 years. Three years seems to be the number for us. So I'm just going to say 3 years. We don't want the people that are coming to that space after us to get there and think, oh crap, what am I doing here? We want people to come in behind us and feel like they're getting to a good spot. So we always try to, whether that be improving playgrounds, trying to make things better in the different spouses clubs, improving schools, you name it. There are spouses out there every day trying to improve things. And I know that's not where this conversation started off at, but this is like my verbal journaling right now. My head's just kind of spinning. So y'all get to listen to it, or you don't. It doesn't really matter. I would love it if y'all listen to it, but you're an adult, like I just said, so do with that what you will. But one of the things that I really enjoy about being able to try to stretch out and do my own thing and try to really, make this be a thing is that it's on me, right? And I did an episode about a year or so ago, I guess it was about a year or so ago, where I was discussing why so many spouses are attracted to and get roped into MLMs, right? The multi-level marketing companies. I fell into that as well. I was in a multi-level marketing company for a while. Did the whole like tried to build a team, but my problem is I want it to be me. Right. I've had people reach out to me on LinkedIn and say, "Oh, hey, have you thought about doing?" And it's always finance people, right? No, this is nothing bad against finance people. I know a lot of finance people; they're good people, but it's the ones that like cold call you on LinkedIn. They'll send you that message, "Hey, I see you're open to new ideas. This is what I do." And you respond. There was one guy I responded back to. I was like, "Hey, look, honestly, finance is not my jam. It's just not something I'm interested in, but thank you." And he replied back with, "Okay, but we also show people how to build teams so you can have passive income." And that's the buzzword right now for about the last couple of years is everyone wants to build this passive income. There's no such thing as I don't care who you talk to. There's no such thing as passive income. You are always working towards or for something. So even if everybody's like, "Oh yeah, well I have," if you listen to these gurus, they're like, "Oh, well, I've got all these rental properties that are generating this passive income," they're still having to maintain those properties or hire somebody to maintain those properties. They're still putting forth effort. Nobody is sitting back. Nobody in the majority of the tax brackets, nobody is sitting back and just making it easy, right? You're always having to work towards and for something. So that money's not just going to sit back and roll in by itself. You have to go out and put in the work. I don't care if it's investing. I don't care if it's real estate. It does not matter. Anything that you're trying to do to build income or wealth or whatever catchphrase you want to apply to it, it's going to require effort. So get the idea of this passive income out of your head. I personally don't feel there's a such thing. And if anybody wants to discuss the idea of passive income with me and how it's truly passive to where you can just sit back and do zero work and make money, I would love to have that conversation because I don't think that's actually a thing. I think it's potentially less work because you're not having to do manual labor every day and clock in every day to do it, but you're having to do work to make that money. You either had to do a boatload of work on the front end to get the properties to be able to have the capital to invest to build your portfolio, your real estate portfolio. We'll just go with real estate because that's what I'm really interested in right now. Or you are having to do a lot of work on the back end as well, to where you're having to maintain the property, having to find renters if you're doing rent, long-term rental, short-term rental, if you're doing like the more of the Airbnb model. All of this is all stuff you have to do on a daily basis. So the idea of passive income, don't buy it. And again, if somebody wants to have this conversation with me about how it's actually passive income, I'd love to hear it. Anyway, I fell into the MLM trap, if you will, to the point where I got a check because they got sued by the federal government, and they figured that I had been defrauded by the company, and they gave me a check. So do with that information what you will. But the reason why it's so attractive to a lot of spouses is because it moves with you, right? If you're doing anything in MLM and you aren't having to maintain inventory, or even if you are having to maintain inventory, you can sell it down a little bit or sell it all off. And then whenever you get to your next duty station, you can just kind of start it back up and start building that clientele base. I get how people are attracted to that because that's something that can move with them. At the same time, you're still kind of an employee, right? Everybody's like, "Oh, you're working for yourself," but you're really not, because you're the middleman between the parent company and your client. So at least with something like this, something like, you know, people that build stuff, I love seeing spouses that are out there and creating, either building stuff, photography. I know tons of spouses that are photographers. I really love it because everybody thinks, "Oh," and I wish I had my camera up here because I dabble in photography as well. I like doing more landscape photography. I took none of these pictures back here. Matter of fact, most of these pictures were done by military spouses, except for that one. That was done by, and that one also. Anyway, most of those pictures were done by military spouses, and I think that's awesome. There are a lot of military spouses that are insanely creative, and they are doing they can do things with the camera that I didn't think were possible. Some of these things where they're like getting people to spell out words and stuff on the camera, not do it in Lightroom or Photoshop later. They're able to do these crazy exposures, and they have these techniques where they can layer the image, and they're getting people like spell out words while it's nuts. But that's a skill, right? That is a tangible skill. That is a service you can provide, and that's value. You're adding value. So, if I'm able to add value to y'all, to anybody, by doing a thing, then I personally think that's a win. Personal trainers. How many people do we know that want to get fit, that want to improve their quality of life through their fitness, or get in control of that? Like we were talking to Heather, she's a registered dietitian. Her specialty is helping people gain weight. There's lots of people out there that struggle to gain weight, either due to a metabolic condition or genetics, whatever. They struggle to gain weight. That's an added benefit. There's another guy that I'm getting ready to talk to see if he wants to come on the show. He's a personal trainer. Him and I have had the conversation because I've been a meathead in the gym for years. I understand programming, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, I know how to program and I know how to lift weights. But if you don't like get into understanding that you can't just write one program and be like, here, this is what you need, and just give that to everybody, then no, everybody's body's going to respond differently. Everybody's got different limitations. You have to understand how the body moves, how people respond to stimulus, what people's personal limitations are, if they have any physical limitations, if they have any mental limitations that they may need to work through. Maybe people are intimidated by the gym. They've never been in the gym, or the last time they were in the gym, they felt like they were ridiculed. There's different things they're going to have to work through. They're going to have to be comfortable before they start actually being able to show up and give effort. And that's something you have to work through with them as a coach. And that's what a lot of personal trainers don't understand. They want people just to show up on day one and be like, okay, let's go. If this is Mike's 10 cents. Okay. If you are interested in personal training and you go to a gym and you find a personal trainer, and as they start working with you, the first thing they do is they put a barbell on you back and say, all right, now squat, which I've seen happen. That's the reason why I'm bringing this up. That's the first thing out of their mouth is they want you to put a load on your body, either bench, any movement. If they put a bar on your back, if they tell you to deadlift, if they do anything loaded before they do any sort of movement assessment, talk about any limitations, talk about what are your goals, what are you trying to get to, how much time do you have to do this stuff, what does your nutrition look like, how are you sleeping? If the first movement pattern they do with you is okay, put this bar on your back and squat, they don't know what they're talking about, because how do I know that you know how to squat without doing some sort of physical assessment first, seeing how your movement patterns are? That's a whole nother podcast, and I'm going to try to see if my buddies will get on here with me and we can both talk about it. That might be one of the longer ones that we do, because I love talking about lifting weights. I don't see a lot of music teachers. I see a lot of people looking for music teachers, but I don't see a lot of music teachers. That's something that you could add benefit with, right? I mean, I know how insanely important music was to me coming up. I mean, I'm a full-on band nerd. I was in the drum. I played drums from junior high to my sophomore year of college. Played drum set in a Southern rock band. Played drum set for the church that I used to go to. Music is incredibly important to me. I don't see a lot of music teachers though. I don't have a degree in it. I just did it for a long time. I was pretty good. So yeah, so that's something else that if you have a passion for it, maybe you could apply some sort of benefit there. But it all boils down to taking that first step, being comfortable doing something that is yours. I know the MLM thing it seems it's easy. It's the easy answer, right? Because you can apply for a thing, you can pay a couple $100 to get the ability to sell this thing. And depending on what it is, it might be something that a lot of people know. And so you kind of have already like a built-in market because people are like, oh, I've been looking for a new seller for this thing. I see you sell this thing. Can I buy from you? That's easy. Whereas being brave enough to say, hey, I provide this service, be it photography, massage therapy. I'll tell you what, a good massage therapist is worth their weight in gold because I have not had a really good massage since I left Arkansas. Um, my massage therapist she was a military spouse, hands down one of the best massage therapists I've ever had in my life, and she doesn't do it anymore. Now she's a nurse. I mean, good on her. She went back to school, she improved herself, she wanted to be a nurse. Super happy for her. Really sad that she's not doing massage therapy anymore. Because I'm a thick dude. Like my deep tissue massages usually aren't enough pressure for me. That's just the way it is. But you're still learning a craft. You're still learning, going out and you're doing something to provide a service, right? So that's what I would like to see more spouses do personally. Um, not, and that's not to say that every spouse wants to and or needs to do that. It's one of my fears when people hear me say this is that they're going to think, oh, well, Mike just thinks everybody needs to go out and work for themselves. I don't. I just got done telling you, I am a great employee. I am a phenomenal employee. I show up on time. I usually don't even take my entire lunch break. I like to work. I do. I really enjoy working. I like feeling a part of a team. I like turning stuff in and have people say, yes, this is what I was looking for. This is exactly what I needed. Or, and I take criticism well. If I turn something in and people are like, this isn't what I was looking for, we need you to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate. Great. Now I know what you're not looking for. Now I can go a different direction with it. I'm a fantastic employee. I will say that with zero amount of humility. I'm a fantastic employee. I very rarely call in sick. And if I do, it's usually because my kid has a doctor's appointment. One of the two of them. So yeah, I love being an employee. I like doing things on my own. Like I love doing this. I like going out and doing other things, but I like being an employee. That's fun for me. And I know that sounds crazy, but it is. It's fun for me. I like going to a job where I can feel appreciated, where I'm providing service, I'm doing something good, and I don't even need a lot of accolades. I don't, my one of my bosses learned pretty quickly that I'm never going to put, especially since I worked for the government for a lot of the different places we've been at. I'm never going to put myself in for an award. I really don't care if I get recognition past my immediate supervisor going, hey, good job. And I don't need it all the time, but if we did something big and I was able to, get things done in a very short time frame that you asked me to do, all I need is, hey, good work. That makes my day. That absolutely makes my day. And I will continue to press on and do good work for you if I just get a, one, hey, good job every once in a while, golden. That's the only motivation I need. Outside of a paycheck. Paychecks are very motivating for me. As I think they are for any spouse that enjoys working. But like I said, I think more spouses would feel less stress if they had something that they were doing that they felt provided value to themselves and to others. Again, going back to leaving it better than you found it. So, yeah, I have no idea how long I've been talking right now. This thing doesn't show me. Oh man, but that's what I've got for y'all today. I think if I could encourage you to do something on this super short episode, it would be try to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable. Do the work that's going to help you, that's going to help propel you into doing the next thing that you want or need to do. because I feel like most spouses in the employment space feel stuck. Either they feel stuck by circumstance, they feel stuck because they get trapped in the mindset of what's the point in trying? Nobody's going to hire me anyway once they find out I'm a military spouse. I've been there. 100% been there with all this, and lately with all the jobs I've applied for, starting to kind of feel that way again, but a little bit less stressed about it, even though having two incomes would definitely benefit my family and we would definitely make us less stressed on the financial side of things. But I feel more confident in doing other stuff right now. And the more I work at it and the more I try to improve on it, the more confident I feel, which makes me think that this other thing is going to work out better for me in the long run. Because like I was saying about the whole MLM thing, if I'm unable to find employment and we PCS, I can keep podcasting wherever we're living. And the chances are that whenever we move somewhere, I'm going to find other spouses that have awesome stories to tell, and nobody's ever asked them to tell their story. And that's what I like doing. I like helping people tell their stories because I think there's power in those stories. And a lot of that power comes from the people that have done it. We've experienced life, we've experienced the hardships, we've experienced the quote unquote bad times whenever everything is falling apart, and we find a way to keep moving because that's just another Tuesday. And we're able to help the newer spouses or the people that just have never experienced that figure out a way through. Because sometimes that's what it boils down to. A lot of times it simply boils down to figuring out the way through, and the best way through is with somebody that's already got the map, somebody that's already been there, somebody that's done the work, somebody says, "Hey, I got you. I can show you how to get through this. We can get through it together. Which one do you want?" And it's that way with doing your own business. It's that way with providing a service. If you're trying to figure something out, there's probably somebody out there that has done it or done something similar. That's like, "Hey, I don't know how to do that exact thing, but I did this other thing that's pretty close." Or it's kind of along the same, they kind of run parallel. So I think I think I can help you out with that. And you're going to get a lot further with somebody that has done it before or has done something similar than you are trying to beat your head against the wall and figure it out yourself. I'm bad about that. I will tell you now, I am the world's worst. Or I know a lot of people say that, but I am really bad about, you know what, I'm just going to figure it out myself. Because then I start listening to other people that I feel like they have it worse off than me. And I'm like, well, I'm not, my issues aren't that bad. I can keep plugging along and I'm going to figure this thing out. Whereas if I would just ask for help, I would probably be significantly further ahead than I am now. I've had people reach out to me and say, "Hey, I can help you with your YouTube channel." I don't want you to help me with my YouTube channel because I don't know you. Now, if I know you and your channel's got 100,000 subscribers, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to talk to you so I can figure out what I'm doing wrong, figure out what I can do better. Part of that comes down to getting better at my craft, right? If I'm providing a better service, then more people are going to want to see it. And that's part of that comes back to what I was saying earlier about being brave and stepping out into being uncomfortable, because I don't like asking for help. I don't. Whenever I first got into powerlifting, I was doing my own programming. I was doing everything myself and it was going fine. And then I realized that, you know what? I don't have enough knowledge about this thing specifically on how to get better. It took a lot for me to reach out to the guy that's still my coach now and be like, "Hey, I hear you're kind of the guy to talk to. Will you help me?" And obviously there's a transaction there because I am paying him. But the point is, you still have to be brave to step out, right? And ask that question. So yeah. Anyway, That's where we're at. Be brave, step out, take that first step, take the initiative, be comfortable being uncomfortable, and add value, because we can't just go through life being a consumer, right? I mean, I know not everybody, somebody's going to listen to this and go, well, I'm not creative. I'm not this. I'm not that. I see, and not everything has to be monetized. I'm not saying that everybody needs to figure out a way to make money, because some people don't need to. Some people don't want to. Some people are perfectly happy being at home, being a house spouse, and I have zero issues with that, because my wife and I've had, every time I start feeling down about me not contributing, and I know that's the dangerous phrase, because every time I say I feel like I'm not contributing enough, my wife reminds me that I cook all the meals. I cook 98% plus of the meals. Uh, I do a lot of the dishes. I do a lot of the cleaning. I get the kids to things. I go to all the kids' doctor's appointments. I do all that other stuff because of her schedule, and she gets in where she can. But a lot of that stuff falls on me, and I love it. I fully will sit here and say I love it. I love being able to take that weight from her, and her not have to worry, stress out about, well, how am I going to get there when I have to be here? And I can just take care of it. I have a thing today at 4 o'clock. There's no way on God's green earth my wife could make that. She doesn't even get off work till 4:30, 5 at the abs lately, if not even later than that. But that's something that I can do as a house spouse and solve that problem, right? Because otherwise, we would not be able to have this meeting with our teacher to figure out how is she settling in, how is things going, do all of the stuff that a concerned, involved parent wants to hear and wants to discuss. Make sure that the teacher has all the information they need. Make sure that the teacher doesn't have any questions from me, and then I can go and ask, hey, these are the things we're seeing at home. Does that check boxes with you? Is that all lining up with where my child needs to be? Or is there anything that we need to be doing different? And that's a conversation that you should want to have as an involved parent. You want to know how your kid is doing in school, not just academically, but socially, mentally, all that stuff. You want to make sure that everything is covered, make sure that your kid's being looked after and protected and cared for. That way, the things you're doing at home make sense. So, yeah, I rambled a little bit more, but it happens. Y'all are used to that. If you've been listening to my show long enough, you're used to me rambling. And anyway, I will stop there. Thanks y'all for listening. Next week we will probably be back with a guest. And after that, we'll still do weekly, and I'll do some of these shorter episodes where I talk about different things that I've seen going on, things that are happening. If you ever come to this podcast looking for input on politics, you are in the wrong podcast. I will very rarely, if ever, talk about politics. Closest I got was on an episode about a month ago, where we very briefly mentioned that there were certain political members that were their decisions were directly impacting military families. And that's about as deep as we're going to get, because that's not what this podcast is about. Anyway, I hope y'all have a fantastic day. You know what? Actually, next week, if I don't have a guest, I'm going to discuss the effects the holidays can have on military families. Holidays can be tough, and we've been through a lot of them as a military family. So I'm going to talk about that, about how just different ways you can approach the holidays if I don't have a guest next week. And if I do have a guest next week, then it'll be the week after that we talk about it. Anyway, y'all have a fantastic day. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If you've listened this long, thank you. And anyway, so take care. Cheers.